Great. I think we can get started here. So welcome everyone to our third and final info session for the 2024 fellowship program for Coding at Ford. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Coding at Ford, we are a nonprofit for early career technologists creating new pathways into public interest technology. And our team consists of myself, Yu Yang Zheng. I am the program manager. I'm joined today by our Deputy Director, Ariana, and Rachel, our Executive Director, is not with us today. There's also someone on the team. So for today's info session, we'll go through a couple of things. First of all, with some of the overviews and logistics of our summer fellowship program, some of the programming opportunities that you will be able to participate in as a fellow, go through a bit about the alumni experience once you graduate from our program, and most importantly, the application process to apply for our 2024 cohort. And at the end, we have some of our alumni joining us today for an Ask Me Anything Q&A. So you will have some opportunity to engage with our alum with your questions. So with that, I will hand it off to Ariana with an overview of our program.
Thanks for kicking us off, Yu Yang. Thank you everyone for being here. We're super excited to share some more info with you. I will quickly say thank you to everyone who is already asking questions, but I will also say that a lot of eligibility information will be shared during our session. So just sit tight for questions for a little bit. You're welcome to ask them as we go through, but I promise that most of the questions y'all are asking are actually already in the content of our slides. If you really want to know about your eligibility because you don't want to sit through this whole thing before we talk about that, feel free to pop on over to our website. And we actually have all the information there as well. So I will save you an hour of this session if you happen to not be eligible. But otherwise, we're going to dive right in. Again, ask questions using the Q&A feature if you have them. But we're going to dive right in. So I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of our program. If you are attending today, I'm hoping that you are aware that we have applications open for our fellowship. But if you don't know too much about our fellowship, we'll give you a little bit of an overview. So our Coding at Forward Fellowship is a paid 10-week internship. We've been running this fellowship since our founding in 2017. And the program is built to empower early career technologists to innovate in local, state, and federal government offices across the country. We started in the federal space in 2017 and expanded into state and local placements in 2021. So we now place at all levels of government, and it's a really neat experience to learn what it's like to work in government as a technologist. These are some of the partners that we've worked with in the past. This is a pretty comprehensive list. We saved you an even longer slide that would have broken down all the agencies and offices within each of these places that we've worked with. But this is kind of the short and sweet list. Some of these folks will be returning partners for 2024. Some of them will not, but this is a nice overview of who we worked with in the past, and kind of a good number of these folks will be working with us again in 2024. So that list is being finalized. We will share it once we have it, but this is just an overview of who we worked with to date since 2017. An important piece of all of this. So again, 10 weeks for early career technologists, but you might be asking, like, what exactly do I do? What kind of role am I filling? These are 5 areas of practice: cyber, product, data, software, and design. So if you apply to our program via the application that is currently live, you will share with us which area of practice you are most interested in, and then you will actually rank for us. So say you choose software engineering, you're going to rank those 3 roles that you see under there. And if you are selected as a fellow, you will fill a role under one of these kind of subcategories. So there is more information on our website about each of these roles if you were curious what kinds of skill sets a fellow working as a data analyst typically brings to the table. We have a really nice breakdown on our website that actually breaks down kind of each of these roles. So there's more information there, but this is just kind of a high-level overview of the roles that we offer during the summer. And I will encourage you to take a look at that website and the breakdown before you apply so that you have a good sense of which roles you might be a good fit for. Highly encourage you to apply to our program under a role that you are most qualified for. So if you have a lot of data skills, but you're interested in learning about software engineering, this opportunity is really for folks who already have some baseline level of technical skill set. It's not a learning opportunity, and that will teach you how to be a software engineer or will teach you how to be a designer. So I'll strongly encourage you to select a role that you have the most coursework experience in or the most project experience in. That will set you up for a stronger application overall. So it's a little bit about the roles that we recruit for. Here's some example projects. We have placed many, many fellows over the past 5 years. So I will spare you every single one of those 600 projects, but these are just 3 of the projects from fellows who have worked with us in the past. Again, the offices that we work with are all over the country doing all kinds of really cool work. Again, state, local, and federal, but these are a couple of the projects that have happened in recent years. A team in the city of Baltimore was doing some data analysis for the mayor's team that actually helped inform the allocation of millions of dollars in ARPA funding, which was really cool. So I won't read you all these descriptions, but I think one thing I always like to share about this program and the projects that fellows get to work on is that it's really high impact work. These teams are not just scoping a random project for you to work on during the 10 weeks. They're really allowing you to plug into the work that their team is doing and really make some impactful contributions. So I think it is sometimes one of the most surprising things that our fellows find when they start the fellowship, that they're being handed a lot of responsibility and some really cool high impact projects. But I think it is also one of the most rewarding things at the end of the 10 weeks that fellows find that they've really worked on something that's going to impact millions of users who are kind of being served by the office that they're working with. So those are just a few projects that fellows have worked on in the past. And I will hand it over to Young for some logistics. And he's probably likely going to be answering a lot of the questions that you guys have in this section. So definitely make sure you are not tuning him out for this one.
Great, thank you. So going into a bit about what the summer looks like and what the fellowship looks like. First of all would be the date of our program. The fellowship is 10 weeks long and it would take place June 10th through August 16th. And given the size of our program and other constraints with working with different agencies and offices, these dates are non-negotiable. So if you do anticipate some conflicts with exams and things like that, we will definitely help you out by seeking accommodations, but we are unable to move these dates based on your personal circumstances. In terms of the workload every week, you're expected to work 40 hours per week during standard office hours. So this is a full-time role, and we strongly discourage other types of employments that might actually conflict with our program. This is something that we do want your full attention throughout the 10 weeks. In terms of the location of our program, you would primarily work in the United States, and we have some limited in-person roles available. This is subjected to hiring restrictions and preferences for agencies and host offices. And these roles are most likely going to be looking for candidates who are already in those cities. So we're not offering any relocation. And primarily for our roles, it would still be fully remote. In terms of eligibility, so we've seen several questions in the Q&A already about first term, international students, things like that. So the most important part here is that you have work authorization in the United States. So either as a US citizen, a permanent resident, or if you're a non-resident, say an international student with an F1 visa, and you're eligible to participate via CPT or OPT. In terms of educational background, we do allow one or the other, so you don't have to have both. And the first one would be a traditional degree program, whether that's associate, bachelor's, master's, professional, or our doctoral degree. And this is at an accredited educational institution. So you can either be a current student or a recent graduate, or you're a current student or a recent graduate from a boot camp or certificate program that is at least 3 months in length, or 12 weeks. And this is a program that is instructor-led with live instruction. So you can have either one of those educational backgrounds to qualify for our program. And in terms of when you have completed these programs, so if you're a recent graduate, we are accepting students, recent graduates who have completed their program no earlier than May 1st, 2023. So for those of you who have graduated in the spring or the summer terms, you are eligible. And if you're a current student in those programs, you are also eligible. Unfortunately, we cannot consider future enrollment. So if you are, say, starting a program in the spring or starting a new program in the fall, and you have a gap and your previous educational background is prior to this date, we are unfortunately not able to consider you as an eligible candidate. just because your educational background for the most recent degree is not of the date that we have required here. And I'll pass it back to Ariana for some programming.
Thanks. So you just got some good logistics overview. We gave you a little bit of an overview of the program, but I want to dive into some of my favorite parts of the fellowship experience, which is our programming. So as Yu Young said, you'll be working with your government office that you get an offer from for 10 weeks. 40 hours full-time during each of those 10 weeks. But outside of the work that you're doing with that office, Coding It Forward does a lot to shape a cohort experience, really make sure that you learn more even outside of the work that you're doing with your office. So we plan weekly events with leading technologists in this field, and we give every fellow access to a mentor one-on-one. Our team is accessible via office hours. So we really love to make sure that you are learning even more about the public interest technology space, the tech for social good space, outside of the work that you're doing with your office. And also want to make sure that you're super well supported. So the mentorship and the office hours is a huge part of that. So our alums who are going to speak with you all in just a bit, I'm sure will be able to share more about their personal experience with our programming in our cohort, but wanted to give you all a preview of what that looks like. And then in addition to professional programming, we also have kind of community programming and, like I said, kind of a cohort experience. So we do events throughout the week as well to build community. We host trivia nights and book clubs and just give you an opportunity to meet your fellow fellows. You'll enter an alumni community after the program is all said and done. So we love to give you the chance to kind of meet your peers and develop relationships with other folks who are fellows during the summer, so that you kind of have an experience throughout the 10 weeks of the program, but also after the program is said and done. So to date, we have placed over 600 fellows at over 60 offices across the country. So when you graduate from our program, you're joining that community of 600 fellows. Our fellows are representative of 40, or our alumni are representative of 46 states across the country and 150 plus academic institutions. All of our cohorts to date have been majority female, majority people of color. It's always been super important to our team that the cohorts that we're building are reflective of the folks that you all are building products and services for. So that continues to be really important for our team. But I think a big thing that I like to highlight is just that you really get to enter a really awesome network of alums who have done this work, folks who are well into their career at this point if they worked with us in 2017. So it's an awesome network to be able to tap into. And then outside of that network, our team, after the 10 weeks are all said and done, are really here to support our alums. We provide one-on-one job and networking support. We always have office hours open. We're really here to help you find your next job, your next internship, your next opportunity. And then we also do fun things like happy hours and book clubs for our alums as well. So we do what we can to make sure that we are continuing to kind of foster the community that we put a lot of effort into building throughout the 10 weeks of the program. And then a little bit about our alumni outcomes. So over 50% of our alumni who are eligible for full-time employment are working in social impact and government full-time. So we really see our program in just 10 weeks kind of being an important jumping off point for folks to learn more about opportunities in this space and opportunities to kind of network and build out future career opportunities. And you'll see on the left side of the screen, just 3 of our alums who have gone on to do work across government. It's just a few of the folks in our community who are now working in government full-time. And then these are some other places that folks have ended up. So I won't read all of this to you, but our alum end up back in government. Some of them end up in social impact. Folks go to graduate school and private sector. So when I speak about that kind of large alumni community, there's just a ton of opportunity there to connect with folks who are on all kinds of different career paths down the road. So again, I think the 10 weeks is what we're really here for, what we're really excited about, but I always love to share the alumni community and the network because I do think it is a really big benefit of being a part of our program and joining a cohort of folks who is really excited about using their tech skills in government. So that's a little bit about our alumni, and I'm going to hand it back to you, Young, to talk about the application process.
Great. All right. So for the application process for our 2024 cohort, here's an overview of the timeline. We are already halfway through our application period. The application opened last Monday on October 16th, and it will be open until this upcoming Sunday at October 29th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So that's the deadline for our application. And after that, we will review everyone's application and invite a select few of our candidates to move forward with the assessment process in mid-November. And we'll provide more information about what that looks like should you be invited to complete that assessment. In terms of next steps after that, we will review everyone's submission and then select another select few of candidates to move forward to rank available positions in our database. So we're still finalizing what positions that we have this year, what roles they are, and where they are at. And so by the time you're invited to rank positions with us, you would have access to the area of practice and the available positions and their descriptions later in December. Once you've ranked positions, our team would go ahead and match your preferences to various roles based on your skills and expertise and how you might best contribute to a particular project. And you would be referred to those host offices, that particular host office for an interview. So that is scheduled to take place sometime in January, with offers rolling sometime throughout January and February. Again, reiterating, the application is going to be closing on October 29th, this upcoming Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure that you get all parts of the application submitted, which includes some of your biographic information, uploading transcripts, resumes. There's some questions about the transcript. So for those of you who are first-term students, so if you are starting your undergrad or you just started your graduate program and you're in your first term, we don't need your actual grades for this semester, but the transcript that you submit must contain your in-progress coursework for this fall 2023 term. We just want to make sure that you are an actual student in those programs. And if you would like us to evaluate any previous transcripts, so say from your previous undergraduate institution, where you think those coursework would be relevant for your skills and background, we encourage you to also submit those. Just make sure that combine all available files into the same a PDF document when you upload them. For those of you who are a bootcamp certificate student or recent graduate, we have listed a number of documents that you will need to upload. Did I lose everyone on my internet?
No, you're still here. Your slides popped out to our, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
You're all good.
All right. Cool. So for those of you who are in a bootcamp or certificate program, we have listed the number of documents that you would need to submit and what information those documents need to display. Just recognizing that there is no traditional structure of each bootcamp or certificate program. We want to make sure that we evaluate your enrollment as well as your coursework from a standardized perspective. So we will need to require those information. And at the end of the application, you would submit 3 short answer questions, letting us know about some of your background, some of your technical skills, and the ways that you navigate different problems. And the most important part here is that we're looking for genuine representation of who you are, and so that we can get to know you better as a candidate for our program. In terms of what we're looking for and qualities that make an applicant stand out to us in the review process, we most importantly look for your technical expertise and your problem-solving skills. A lot of times our fellows enter these positions as really the sole technical expert on the team. And sometimes, you know, you're not going to be able to seek a lot of help and guidance from other technical individuals or professionals just because you are the one there to offer that service. So we want to make sure that you're technically capable, you understand that there isn't a clear path working on certain problems, and you're comfortable navigating that uncertainty and be able to problem solve on your own. And secondly, we want to look for individuals who are committed to making a difference. You understand public service, public interest technology, and you are passionate about building products and services on behalf of the American people. And also, we want you to be a creative and collaborative leader. A lot of times you are not working alone. You will be interfacing with different stakeholders, different staff people, and leadership. So we want to make sure that you are someone who would be able to contribute to a larger picture and larger progress, and not just a solo worker working on a project and then just call it done when you're done. In terms of criterias in our review and what we use to evaluate your application, again, technical ability is something that we look for immediately. So make sure that you demonstrate those ability not only just by name dropping things, but also actually demonstrating them through submissions of portfolio, GitHubs, past projects, explaining, elaborating on your experiences and coursework, and also you will be able to indicate some of your top skills in your application. And for those of you who are, say, very new to this space and you might not have a lot of previous experience, projects, or examples, we don't really encourage you to apply just because these roles are going to be very technically demanding, and we want candidates who actually feel comfortable in a particular technical skill or have that expertise to be able to offer in these roles. Another area that we screen for is adaptability. So you should be someone who's comfortable navigating ambiguity, you enjoy problem solving, and you're able to work with a variety of people. A few things that are less important would be the prestige of your educational institution. So we don't really care too much about where you went to school, how well that school is in terms of compared to other schools. We don't care too much about your grades or your GPAs. And we certainly do not look into your high school accomplishments. So before we close, there are some resources that I definitely would like to point everyone towards to take a look at as you prepare your application. So the first place to look at is our blog, which contains some stories written by our past alumni, sharing their experience and takeaways from their actual work in the summer, and also other posts about an AMA type question and answer blog posts where you can learn more about the fellowship experience. Check us out on our social media. Check out our GitHub, which contains repositories of past presentations. So you can get a better idea and get a better sense of what are some of the example projects that our past fellow had worked on, so that you can have a better expectation of what your summer might look like. And we definitely encourage everyone to stay in touch with us by subscribing to our newsletter, where we send out updates and other opportunities in public interest technology. And we have an upcoming office hour for the application process also coming up on Thursday. So this office hour is designed for more technical questions. So if you run into a particular issue with the application portal, or you're unsure about how to submit a particular component, that is what the office hour is for. It is not there for reviewing resumes or giving advice about how to craft a particular essay. So definitely stop by if you have any particular technical issues with the application process that you feel like it will be easier to solve live than sending us an email, but we are not there to offer any application advice. So with that, that concludes our actual info session with the information, and we're here to invite some of our alum to go through a quick panel about their experience. So today we have DJ, Aishani, and Charlie joining us. So I'll actually exit out here so that they can introduce themselves quickly.
Awesome. I can go ahead and start. Thanks, Young. My name is DJ. I am a recent graduate of the University of Michigan, where I studied computer science. And in 2020, I served as a data fellow at the US Census Bureau. And I'll talk a little bit more about my project later. And I'll hand it off to Aishani.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aishani, and I recently graduated from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign with a computer science degree, and I was also a data science fellow at the US Census Bureau in the summer of 2020, but working on a different project, which you'll also hear about.
Hey y'all, I'm Charlie. I was with the DOL over this last summer here, and I just graduated from Seattle University with a BA in marketing and a BA in design. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, thank you all for joining us today. So we'll kick it off with the first question. Can you share a bit about your summer experience? What was the project that you worked on, and any particular takeaway from your summer experience?
I can start. Okay. So yeah, I was a data fellow at the Census Bureau, and specifically I was working on a project within the economic census. So the economic census is very similar to the population decennial census. However, instead of surveying residents of the United States, it is a survey of businesses and establishments across the United States. So it's about like 7 million businesses that are represented, and that data is then used to publish a annual data set called the County Business Patterns, which provides information. It's publicly accessible, so journalists and different business professionals and researchers use it. It's also used internally within the government for things like calculating the GDP, and it provides metrics like payroll, employment, etc., to kind of paint a picture of what the annual trends in different industries and geographies look like across business metrics. However, that County Business Patterns data set does not include any of the revenue data of any of those business establishments. So I worked on a project to build imputation models that would be able to take in the existing information about each business and then combine it with other factors, such as IRS tax receipts and other inputs, and be able to predict what a business's revenue would be every year, and publish that alongside the County Business Patterns.
While I was at the census, I worked on revamping a tool that the Bureau used for address matching across different databases and deduplication, which had originally been written in Fortran and was just getting really hard to maintain. So me and another fellow were given the task of kind of updating this using some more maintainable, up-to-date software, also trying some NLP techniques, and then later on getting to apply this tool for kind of a database linkage project. So like if you can think of a list of businesses and a list of homes, if like certain home addresses or residential addresses also fell in the business category, creating like a linkage between the two frames was kind of another thing that we focused on in our.
All right, let me know if I cut out. I think Ashani just cut out for me. Yeah, I worked with the DOL within the Office of Apprenticeship, and it was a really amazing experience there. And I worked as a user experience designer over the course of the summer, and it was interesting to come in because the project originally was one small page and like a subset of pages around federal registered apprenticeships, and through user experience research and researching the whole user flow and user journey throughout the site and what the site was being used for, the project ended up expanding to be to touch the job filter, and I mean job finder on apprenticeship.gov, which has over 2 million users a year. And I got to touch that, and yeah, it was a really amazing experience. My research discovered that there were some critical errors on apprenticeship.gov where federal registered apprenticeships weren't showing up through the job finder, but private ones were, and we were really working to promote federal apprenticeships. So that getting revealed kind of expanded the project quite a lot, and overall it was a really awesome experience where I got to impact a lot of people, and yeah, I'm hoping it goes live soon.
Great. Thank you all for sharing. So the next question I have is, what was your favorite part of your summer experience?
TJ, do you want to go? I think we lost Ashani. She might be coming back.
Right.
Internet.
Start to stall a little bit to see if she returns. But I would say the favorite part of my experience as a fellow was really just getting a lot of insight into the civic tech space and that community. So when I did this fellowship, I was in the summer right after my freshman year of college. So I had no kind of like idea of what the space of like civic technology and like tech for public service and social good was really about. So doing the fellowship was more than just the like 9 to 5 of working at the Census Bureau and working on the project that I was assigned, but it was also the additional events and kind of like community aspect of coding it forward. So throughout the summer, being able to attend various happy hours, kind of be involved in hearing like a speaker series from all sorts of different representatives that worked in like things like the White House and government adjacent consulting firms in the public sector at like both the local level and the federal level. And just kind of getting a way better understanding of what civic tech entailed. I think that really was the favorite part of the entire experience, is that I really was understanding what the impact was of this space and like what the different options were for if I wanted to continue to pursue experiences after the fellowship, that it wasn't just like, oh, there's only like the federal government, for example, but there are all these other opportunities that are open, and really understanding that. Welcome back, Aishani. We're talking about what our favorite part of the fellowship was.
All right. Yeah, my computer is just it doesn't cooperate when it's time for the info session Zoom webinar. But I think I'll echo a very similar sentiment, I guess, to what DJ talked about. I think like the project work is absolutely a huge part of it, but also the external programming put together by Coding It Forward is probably, like, I cannot speak highly of it enough. And I think the community that I also was able to meet, and being around other people that were passionate about like the impact tech, public interest tech space, was also absolutely invaluable. So I think just having my perspective changed, and also just being around people who interact with constituents and like serve the public in a very non-technical context, and getting to learn from them, and then having that shape my outlook on tech and software was also something that I will always treasure.
Sweet. Yeah, I think as Yu Yang mentioned, a lot of this fellowship, a lot of roles in the fellowship, some are more independent than others, and I think having that independence and being trusted as kind of the subject matter expert in UX was one of my favorite parts in my particular role at the DOL. Some other fellows are definitely like placed in groups of fellows, and but I was out here on my own, and I just got to be the expert on UX for the department in that sector, and it was really empowering for people to come to me, and they needed the advice in UX, and they're like, you're only here for 10 weeks, so please do as much as you can, was a really great vibe to be getting from my bosses, and just getting a like green light on do everything that you can. So you're definitely valued, like coming in for the summer and dropping in. You're definitely going to have skills that are needed in many different offices. So I think that was definitely my favorite. And yeah, I'd say the alumni network and just the people you meet is also another great part of it. I think I definitely want to be in like civic tech or tech for good, somewhere in this realm. I'm still looking for like full-time job right now because I just got out of college. But it's been really helpful to connect with all those people at the DOL. Like just a day or two ago, I was like, hey, like I might have an interview with like a federal thing. Can you tell me about the federal hiring process? And I just got to call somebody up, and she was like, okay, expect this, that. And it's good to have that network now and be kind of plugged in. I was like, hey, can you put in a good word here or here? Do you know these people? So if you want to get into this space, I think it was a great networking opportunity, because at least in my office, they really took the time to connect me in with a lot of the different UX designers within the DOL as a whole, and where they could other places. So yeah.
Great, thank you all for sharing. So we've actually got a pretty high upvoted question from an audience. So what is one thing that you did to make sure that you were getting the most out of your fellowship experience back in the days?
I can say that sort of like one of the ways that I maximize my own like personal takeaways from the fellowship experience, I think is just kind of by like asking questions that were outside of the scope of just the project that I was working on. So I think this is something that started to come up more like as I got later into my fellowship, and I felt a lot more comfortable with not only the project that I was working on and the roadmap, but also like the people that I was working with, and kind of having like a better working relationship by building that over the 10 weeks. So I think especially towards the end of my internship, like for example, my project was not only working alongside other people at the Census Bureau, but it was also consulting with people at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Fed, and getting to meet with them and interface with them on a pretty regular basis because they were the stakeholders in my project. So as time went on, because I was working with these like very, very skilled and very like knowledgeable economists and statisticians, I started asking them more about just like their other work that was unrelated to this project, or kind of just seeing what types of things they had done throughout their career, and sort of how they like were able to get to the place that they were. And I think just by kind of being able to not only focus on like, oh, I need to check all the boxes of this project and like not think that I'm like inside of like this sphere that I can't really break out of. I think that was really helpful to just have like a mindset shift and a paradigm of like the point of the fellowship is to learn a lot and to have like takeaways that you personally benefit from. It's not just about like how much value can you bring to your host office that you're working in, but also what can they provide you back in return, and why are you really interested in being there. So I think that was really well received, and throughout the time that I was like really able to learn a lot more about what was going on across the Census Bureau. Kind of got to talk to people that were like completely like not even working on my project, and I was just connected with them through my supervisor, and things like that helped me kind of like maximize the impact that the fellowship had on me.
I think for me, I think the biggest thing that helped my, I guess, fellowship experience be as impactful as it was is just talking to as many people as possible, and just any person in any context, just interacting with them with the attitude that you can learn a lot from them. Even people that are looking to you for advice are people that you can learn from, especially people who are not in software or the tech space. I feel like I'm repeating myself again, but I think it is like really common, especially when you're given like this position of being kind of the expert in the room, to forget that like the people that you're around and the people that majority of people you will be around in the fellowship are people that have been embedded in this space of like public interest, public service tech forever. And so just going in with the attitude that they are like treasure chests filled with knowledge for you to learn from and grow from, I think is something that will drastically, I think, affect how you move through the fellowship versus coming in thinking that you just like know it all because you are the only person kind of with that tech background.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. You might be a person with a lot of tech background. I was definitely the person with the most UX experience, but there was a bazillion things that I did not know and I had to learn. One of those is the acronyms. I noticed, Ariana, you put DOL equals Department of Labor in the chat. When I first came in to the DOL, I literally had to stop my boss in the middle of a meeting. I was like, you have to stop using acronyms because I have no idea what you're talking about right now. But by the end of it, I guess it became natural. But in making the biggest impact, in my fellowship, I think for me, it was really important to look, and I think in any fellowship, it's really important to look at the entire user journey holistically, and understand what you're doing in context. Because I think if I hadn't found out more of the context of what I was doing, I could have just done one small page that's kind of buried on apprenticeship.gov. But since I really took the time to understand what problem we were solving, I kind of got to say, okay, I think you think we're solving this little problem with this little one page, but here we are with this other set of problems that's coming through the whole site, and if we want people to be more successful, we need to tap into all of these things. So I think understanding the full user journey, and if you have time, expanding your scope, because I definitely had time to do more than one page over my 10 weeks, and I felt capable of doing more. So I said I could help with more, and you can also just latch on to other small projects. I mean, small or big projects that might be happening as well that you could have impact on, because they were thinking of redoing the like general design system for apprenticeship.gov, and I took the time to go through and flag things that weren't accessible in terms of color combinations and design, and weren't congruent with the US web design system. So there's always opportunities to do a little more, but of course, be mindful of your scope and how much you can do and feel capable of doing in the time, and pace yourself too.
Great. I would like to thank all three of you for joining today. We're a little bit short on time, so we want to make sure that we get some time to address the Q&A. We've got quite a lot piled up. But thank you all again for joining today and sharing your advice and your experience. Feel free to sign off or hang around, answer additional questions in the chat. But Ariana and I will be staying on to answer some more questions in terms of logistics, other questions that you have put in the Q&A as we go. And feel free to also continue to upvote and ask additional questions. Cool.
Thank you, alums. Let's get to it. We have quite a few. I've been looking at them for quite a bit, so I can help triage. Jackie's asking, I saw R as part of the data skill sets on the website, but it was not an option in the drop-down menu on the application. Is it still considered a data skill?
Yes, I don't know why I didn't make it there. I will make sure to add it back in because it's supposed to be there. So check back.
Everyone who upvoted.
Yes.
It will be there
There
soon.
might be an R Studio option you might want to see if it's there. You can also select that. It's kind of synonymous.
Lovely. For the cybersecurity training, do you need prior experience? From Alexia. Alexia, for the cybersecurity role, if that is what you're referring to, we don't formally train anyone. But if you are applying for a cybersecurity role, we do expect some level of prior experience. So if you take a look at our website, you'll be able to see the typical skill sets that someone in a cyber role may fill. That'd be a good place for you to check and see. If you have some background, if not, again, I would just encourage you to apply to a role that you do have more skill sets in, because that is how we will be evaluating your application. So Anonymous,
I think
go ahead. Go ahead.
A related question, I think someone is like a most upvoted question right now with like technical experiences that we look for. There isn't like a clear like you need this and you need that answer. We do look for the type of classes they've taken. We do look for project experiences outside of classes. It could be, via a student organization. It could be an independent solo project. It could be a project that you worked on with another of your former employer or internship or things like that. We want to make sure we are looking for essentially competency and that you are able to utilize those skills in our roles. We don't need you to know every single possible language or tool or skills out there. So make sure that you can demonstrate some of those abilities through your application. And that's really mainly what we're looking for, beyond just have taken several classes, but not really actual experiences with them.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to look at that section of our website. It's there for a reason. I think it gives a good overview. And then there have been quite a few questions of, oh, I'm a first year, I don't have that many years under my belt. What is the typical breakdown of the folks that you guys accept? It really can vary. We have so many different projects that require so many different skill sets. So we encourage you to apply, just do all that you can to highlight your skill sets. The next most upvoted is what is the admission stats? This is the number one question. We do not share our admission stats. It changes year to year. I don't know what the admission stats will be this year. I don't know how many applications we're getting this year. So that is not something that we typically share. I know that everyone is dying for an understanding of how likely you are to get this role and what will make you a better applicant. But app stats are not something that we are able to share, mostly because I don't know how many people are applying.
Yeah, I
but-
think, oh, sorry. Another thing to add on to that is it is also very much dependent on the number of roles that we have every year. It's not just about blanket, like we accept this percentage of applicants to move forward. It really depends on the type of roles that our government partners request and the number of roles that we do need to fill. So it is really, really important, again, to apply to the area of practice that you're most confident and most skilled in, and not the one that you want to say, I want to learn more in this role and so I want to, try to do this opportunity. So we want to look for the most qualified candidate in a particular area of practice to move them forward and match their skill as closely as possible to the available roles.
Indeed. Question from Christina. Do you prefer a federal resume or a more private sector resume for this application process? We are not the government, so we do not care about federal resumes. What we want is a resume that captures your skill sets accurately, in truth, highlight who you are. So I would probably say a private sector resume might be better at capturing that, whatever you think is best, but we by no means require a federal resume. We really just want you to do whatever is going to be best at highlighting your skill sets, your project experience, prior experience, all that good stuff. But good question. Yeah, but that is, you are applying to not the government, which makes it a little bit better and that you don't have to deal with some of that wonkiness. What should I do if I have selected 2 roles and have submitted? Should I make a new account? I'm assuming this person is interested in 2 different types of areas of practice and is wondering if they should apply again to indicate their second preference. Is that your interpretation of the question, Yu Young? Perhaps.
I would think so, yeah. You shouldn't be able to select multiple areas of practice, and we do not consider you for multiple areas, given the volume of application and also a very specific kind of tailor set skill matching process. So you would be able to select your preferences under a particular area of practice. So under data, you can rank data scientist, data engineer, and data analyst, and so on and so forth for the other areas, but you would not be able to create a new account. Well, you can, but we will not consider it. Yeah, please don't. It's more work for me, actually.
For some reason selected the incorrect area of practice and you would like to change that, you can email our team, but you please don't submit multiple applications. Anonymous question. I'm a current freshman and undergraduate. What should I submit for my transcript?
So if you're in your first term, you should be able to generate an unofficial transcript that contains all of your in-progress coursework. If you're unsure about how to do that, reach out to the registrar office at your school. Maybe they are able to provide that. So we really only need to see your in-progress classes. We don't need to see the grades for those classes. Please also don't go into your Canvas or whatever student portal that you're using and print out all of your grades. We don't need to see those. So just make sure that whatever document that you submit is from your school and it shows whatever classes that you're taking right now.
Someone's asking if they can show an acceptance letter if there is no transcript. Please follow the instructions Yu Young just gave that freshman about trying to get a hold of an unofficial transcript. We do need some transcript in some form for your application. I applied to the software programming area, but I'm a data science major. As a freshman, I have some programming experience with projects, but if you think I am a better fit for a data science role due to my coursework, can I be considered for a data science role?
So we want to leave that choice to you. So whatever role that you select or whatever area that you select, we will evaluate your experiences with that particular area's evaluation criteria. So even if you are truly exceptional as a data scientist, but you are applying to, say, a design role, we will evaluate you as a designer. So that's why we, again, encourage you and actually just ask you to just apply for the role that you're most qualified for, just because that's the criteria that we'll be using to make our judgments and evaluations.
Which years have more likely chance of getting accepted? That is also something that we really can't say. We don't necessarily have like quotas for the number of freshmen, graduate students, any of that. We're really matching you to projects based off of your skill sets and screening you based off of your skill sets. We have had really great representation of all kinds of different backgrounds and years. So that is not really something that we're looking for. We're really just looking for your qualifications. So that's kind of how our process works. So there's no higher likelihood. It's just really about your skill sets. So again, I think we've said this so many times, but as much as you can do to highlight your project experience, your experiences in the roles that you're applying for, the better off that you will be. Should I reapply if I selected 2 roles? I think this is similar to the answer we were answering before. Please don't reapply. I don't know how you would have selected 2 roles, so we might be misinterpreting that. But if you have a specific question pertaining to your application, you can email our team, because that should not be possible on our application. And please do not submit multiple applications. What does the interview look like? Yu Young, if you want to answer that one.
Yeah, so I'll just clarify, there are kind of 2 parts in terms of next steps that relates to something like that. So we have an assessment process that's not going to be an interview. It's more like a take-home assignment. You have an extended period of time to do it. And again, no coding. Well, not again. There's no coding involved in that assessment as of right now. TBD, I don't think there will be, but we'll let you know. And in terms of actually interviewing with the host offices, those vary. Typically, our partners do not conduct coding style type interviews. We do not encourage them to do either, since we have already done that technical screening for them. But you will get more information once you are selected to move forward with an interview at the host office. So we can't really provide too much information, since it really varies project by project, position by position, and office by office. And some offices having multiple positions and multiple roles might be looking for completely different things in their interviews.
I was scrolling down. Jackie just responded, do you know when R might be added? I don't think I saw R Studio, but I will check. Yu Young is presently on this info session, but maybe check back in the morning or a little bit later tomorrow. But we are not presently online. We are online for this info session, but Yu Young will be the person getting that added. So just give us a few minutes, or not minutes, just give us a number of hours. Probably check back tomorrow and it should be up and ready to go. But thank you for flagging that. Someone switched their major from another major, is now doing computer science. They were wondering if their previous classes from their previous major will be considered when their transcript gets viewed in the applications.
Yeah, so I think 2 parts to your question. Number 1, we don't really emphasize a particular major program that you're in. So if you have classes that fit specific skills and experiences, great. If you have project experiences outside of your degrees, great. So that's part 1. Part 2 is whatever classes you submit to us on your transcript, we will look at. So we have a set process to look for the technical classes most relevant to your area of practice. So we'll be able to discern that, and we are not looking at the particular major designation. So if you are a CS student that have taken a lot of design classes, done a lot of design project, and you're applying as a design applicant, we will look for design experiences. So we're not emphasizing on a particular major.
Lovely. Could a screenshot of my unofficial transcript and a current enrollment verification certificate, both in a PDF, work for the transcript requirement, Yu Young?
No, please do not send screenshots. This is written, I think, very big in the application portal. We've also added additional checklists for you to identify components as well. So please just pay attention to everything that is written out already on the application portal as to what that transcript should look like, and submit it accordingly. And our team will reach out if there is additional requirements or documentations needed for your application.
Do you guys review on a rolling basis or after the deadline?
Yes. So we do. So it doesn't really matter too much for you if you apply earlier or later. But it matters to us because if everyone applies on the last day, it is going to delay the full review process as we can't get started reviewing your application until you submit them. So I would recommend submitting them as soon as possible. Do our team a favor so that everyone can hear back earlier.
It will
That
affect
really,
you if everyone and all of your friends
yes,
who are applying also apply on the last day. So,
yes.
and in the case, I will just say this, in the case that for some reason we have so many that we are so behind, we actually may start notifying people who applied earlier of their, that's not how it's supposed to work. But I will say that, like, please apply earlier and not on the last day. It is no benefit to you to apply on the last day. If anything, you will be reviewed with more patience if you apply earlier in our process. We review everyone the same, but when there is a massive volume of folks who applied on the very last day, it can take a very long time. So do what you can to apply earlier. And it means that if you have questions, you can email us or come to office hours instead of not having that opportunity afterwards. I'm available to intern in person in 2 locations. Can I add that to my application? Again, we are anticipating a very minimal number of in-person roles. When I say minimal, I mean probably likely less than 10. The rest of our roles will be mostly remote. So it really is not a huge option, and we will only be matching local talent to those roles because we will not be offering relocation. If you are interested in in-person opportunities, you will be able to indicate that when you rank positions during that stage, if you are invited to that stage of our process. So no need to indicate that on your application. Based on the experiences you've had within your rotations, what do you believe the program prioritizes? I think that was for alumni. But what we are looking for and seeking in a potential applicant, Yu Young, if you could just give people the 2-3 quick bullet points of what they should be highlighting for us in their application.
Yeah, so definitely your technical abilities, demonstrate those through your past experiences, classes, projects, things like that. And also adaptability, especially in ambiguous situations. And a lot of times, one, you are going to be the sole technical subject matter expert. And a lot of times you would be bouncing back and forth with different stakeholders, different staff, different professionals on your team. So be able to navigate those situations, and especially situations where you might not have a lot of the information. So I think those 2 areas are very important to highlight on your application, and we do look very heavily into those particular points as we review candidates.
There are a couple of questions about training curriculum projects that fellows will be going through during 10 weeks of the fellowship. So everyone will be working on a project with the office that they are working with. In terms of curriculum and training, again, this is not an experience where if you literally have no software experience, you sign up to learn how to be a software engineer. Many of the teams that you work with may introduce you to new platforms, and you may have to learn new things as our alumni previewed for you. But this is not a training experience where every week you are learning something new via a curriculum that Coding It Forward is creating.
Cool. I just want to be mindful of time. We're a bit over the hour, so feel free to hang around. We're going to do maybe a couple of more minutes, but we will send out a slide deck and the recording for this info session. You're also able to go ahead and resubmit the RSVP form to this info session and get a recording right away from our previous sessions. If you have any personal questions, please send them to our team via recruiting@codingitforward.com. And you're also able to utilize the contact form on our fellowship website as well. And the application is again open. The link to it would be cif2024.com/apply.
I also will encourage everyone to thoroughly read our website before you email our recruiting team. We have really thought through a lot of this stuff on our website. It's a lot of frequent questions we get in our inbox every year. So please, we'd really appreciate if you looked at that website and our FAQs before sending us a question about something that is likely on the website. But we are here to answer your specific questions if it's not on the website. Cool. Are you seeing any that might be important to answer?
I think there's one about like previous year's application. So again, previous year's we don't consider previous applications for this year just because position changes, projects changes, and we look for very specific skills and roles. And when we do have fellows, myself included, who have applied multiple times before they are accepted into the program. And again, this is not necessarily due to your technical abilities or skills or background, but it really is about the match to a specific role that we are trying to achieve.
Please reapply again. A lot of our fellows are folks who've applied multiple times, so we appreciate it. This one looks important. With it being remote, if you travel internationally and work there for a short time, will that matter? Yes, it will matter. If you read our website, you have to, and also answered our application and went through our application process, you will see that it asks if you will be based in the US for the full duration of the program. You cannot be working anywhere other than the United States throughout the 10 weeks. You are working on government computers often and government systems, and you cannot carry those out of the country. It will be a very, very big issue and will likely hinder your ability to finish our program. So if you are thinking of applying to our program and you are getting through our process as the months go by and you are planning summer vacation, we would highly encourage you to wait to see if you are getting into our program, or just choose you're going to do summer vacation, but know that you will not be able to do our program and accept an offer from us. Do we need to send cover letters? No. Open our application, you'll see everything that you need to submit, and that's all we need from you. How often are these opportunities available? Our summer program operates every summer, so typically applications are open in the fall, and our placement is 10 weeks during the summer. How technical are product management fellows expected to be? Would encourage you to look at our website. Again, that breakdown of the role will give you a good understanding. Product management fellows are usually the least technical if you mean like hard coding skills, but our website does a good job of outlining the types of skill sets that a product management fellow will bring to the table.
We have a question here about disclosing disability. So that is a question on our demographic data form. However, that data is completely separate from your application. We do not consider anyone's like demographic characteristics as we review your application. And in terms of actually getting access to accommodation, that's something that we do during the onboarding process when you're selected. So it is really for statistical purposes that we keep track of demographics, and those, again, are not considered as part of the application.
Yeah, we're an equal opportunity employer, so your demographic data is separate from your application as we process. Okay. Can the alums send their LinkedIn IDs? They are no longer on this call, so I cannot ask them that. You need a recommendation letter or reference? No, if you've applied with us in the past, that has been a thing, but it is not anymore. Even though we may be the expert on the project, will we still have a team that will have similar skills? This is team by team specific. So if you make it to the interview stage of our process, that is something that you would want to ask your team that you're interviewing with to have a good understanding of what kind of team you're plugging into. I will also apologize in that there is no longer any light coming into my room, so I've slowly started to descend into darkness. Okay, I think we have most of them, Yu Young.
Yep.
I think we might be cutting this off since we're quite over the hour. But we encourage you, if you feel like your question has not been answered, first, take a look at our website. And then second, feel free to send us an email. But we appreciate you joining this info session. I think a lot of the questions that we have left are just kind of, if I don't have personal projects, or how do I highlight my skill sets? If you don't have personal projects, that is okay. Highlight what you can, highlight what kinds of projects you have worked on. Anything that you can do to highlight your technical experience will go a long way. We believe experience comes in all different ways, shapes, and forms. So bring yourself to the application. Don't have ChatGPT write your application. Be honest and true in your responses, and that is really how you can set yourself up for success. So I think that answers most. The rest of them, I think, are pretty perhaps personal questions that can be handled via email. So we are going to wrap up. Young, I will check with you in case you see any last ones that we might need to answer live, but I think
that would be it.
Lovely. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate your interest in our program. We are excited to see your applications. Again, apply early. It will probably have some benefit to you. And thank you for all your questions. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your questions, but we want to be respectful of everyone's time. And please feel free to email us if there is anything that you feel was not answered today.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a great evening. Bye.